So, yeah, what we're going to talk about is Warhammer too big? I mean, you and me have been doing it for nearly 30 years now. It's never been more popular.
No, it's true.
Ever. It's never been more popular. It's on the verge of getting a TV series.
Bafflingly.
So many computer games and stuff out for it. It is massive. Most people will probably know what Warhammer is now if you ask them. Not obviously out in the middle of nowhere, Timbuktu, but most people in the UK or the US probably have an idea of what Hammer is. And if not, they might just get mixed up with Warcraft.
Yeah. They might even have seen the Warhammer shops now the branding's changed.
When I worked in a store, you would not believe the amount of calls I got asking for PlayStations.
It's not Game.
Monopoly.
Games Workshop.
If you remember, there was Game, and then there was also Game Station.
Yep.
And then we were Games Workshop.
Both. Yeah, Romford had all three.
Yes, exactly.
When I lived next to Romford.
Southend had they were all within like a 500 metres of each other as well. So, yeah, I was constantly getting phone calls. No, we don't sell Monopoly. No, we don't sell PlayStation 2 games. No, we don't. And even people coming in off the street. Oh, Games Workshop. Oh, you don't sell any board games or computer games? Like, no. So from that perspective, I totally see why they changed it to Warhammer. Warhammer is the brand. And as I said, a lot of people would know what it is now. It's never been bigger. It's too big, is what I think.
Nah.
I think that Warhammer has outgrown what GW can do with it. And although it would never happen, because Warhammer, Games Workshop are making shitloads of money and stuff like that, I think it would take a company like Hasbro to, A, run it into the ground and destroy it, but also B, match the output that's required, if that makes sense. So one of my illustrations of how Warhammer is too big, we're going to look just at the flagship product for a second. We're going to look just at Warhammer 40,000. I'm going to go on their horrible website. I'm going to click on Shop Warhammer 40,000. I'm going to click on Space Marines. Obviously, there's no show all option on their website, but we're on Space Marines. I'm going to presume you're not on the website. How many entries do you think there are for Space Marines?
About 80.
222. I see 36 per page. Well, per page.
Yep.
And there's 222 different things when you click on Space Marines.
Damn.
That does seem to include the other chapters because Azrael comes up. So it's all the Space Marines. But nonetheless, it's 222. And that is admittedly the biggest, but it is one out of 25 factions in the game.
To be fair, if they got rid of all the new Primaris stuff, it'd go a long way to thinning that back down again. Then you can just redesign the original Marines with Mark 10 armor.
That'd be the dream. That'd be the dream. I mean, let's face it. But again, we're going to do another video about Primaris and did they ruin Astartes, and we've got somebody coming in who's very, very passionate about it. But the whole reason Primaris was brought around, apart from the copywriting thing, I guarantee you, was to ape the Stormcast model. Because with the Stormcast model, they can just keep releasing new Stormcasts because they just keep making up new Stormcast. Need a new Stormcast release? Open up another chamber. Right, now we've got Psyker Stormcast as the latest one, or whatever.
Wizards.
Yeah, exactly. And with Primaris, you can do that. With the previous chapter structure, the good old, proper chapter structure.
Outline, what's that?
You only had Tactical Assault Devastator Scout.
Yep.
Now you've got every single heavy weapon is a different weapon squad.
Yeah. Bonkers.
Yeah, no, absolutely ridiculous. But
it's not 30k,
That's why GW do it. Because that way they've got more SKUs, more to sell. They're appealing to the people who want one of everything, or the collectors, or the people who want the tactical options. They know they're not. I say Games Workshop sometimes don't know what they're doing, and sometimes I absolutely do not think they know what they're doing. But they're not stupid. They know how to make money.
Oh yeah.
They don't make as much as they could, but they know how to make money. So yeah, Space Marines, 222 options.
Too many Marines to get rid of the Primaris stuff.
That's absolutely, that's what I would do. And the thing is, it's so annoying because they brought out the new Primaris, the new Terminators and Scouts. It was exactly what we wanted, and they're awesome.
Yeah.
And then you look at Scouts, and you're like, well, we don't need Reavers, or Infiltrators, or Incursors, or any of the other things you made up beginning with I.
Yeah, too many.
They could all fuck off.
Too many Marines.
As you correctly say, there's about 80 different data cards in the Space Marine army.
That was just a guess as well.
So how the hell How the hell do you balance that? How do you balance it internally, let alone against other armies?
Carefully.
It's absolutely insane. Absolutely insane. So yeah, it's got out of control. And the thing is, all they can do now is just add more stuff.
Yep.
Because they don't
take away old
remake
stuff,
anything.
people are going to get grumpy about it. Like,
Yeah, exactly.
actual proper Marines.
They should never have done Primaris. They should just rescale the Space Marines.
Yep, exactly that.
Rescale the Space Marines. I don't think anybody would have complained, really.
No.
I honestly don't. I think it would have inspired people to collect a whole new army.
Yeah, I would have. I'd have replaced a whole bunch of squads or
I had
supplemented.
I've still got some Leviathan stuff because the Primaris stuff is getting better. It's not as bad as it used to be. We're not getting things like Inceptors anymore.
Oh God.
I mean, to be fair, we've got the Desolators, and they were probably just as bad, but they were just bad weapons. Like the actual armor itself was okay.
Yeah, it's just standard Mark 10, ain't it?
Yeah, standard Mark 10 armor. So
that's a nice plate.
That's the one thing I can't. When it comes to Primaris, I like the Intercessor armor.
Yeah, it's like
I like it.
It's like Mark 4 plus Mark 8.
Exactly. Yeah, it's just an upgraded Space Marine armor suit. They haven't done anything with it. The helmet looks fine. They're not wearing Crocs or shorts like
should be Mark 12.
Phobos armor. They're not fat tubby ones like the aggressors.
Right. You leave my aggressors alone.
Like the aggressors, I know. I like Blade Guard veterans. That's probably around about it. To be
fair, in my defense, like the aggressors are the only Gravis armor I actually like. I don't like any others.
I thought the heavy intercessors were okay. Like bulkier intercessors. I think they're in Gravis because they haven't got those great big stupid fists. But overall, none of it. I don't think any of it beats the classic Jez Goodwin Space Marine. I know Jez did some of this stuff, so I feel bad, but
funnily enough,
even though I like the Mark 10 intercessor, I much prefer the scaling and the proportions of it.
Yeah.
I just wish they'd done that to the classic Mark 7 or Mark 8 suit.
Yep. And then brought out like Mark 10 as an alternative if you wanted a
fancy
new armor set.
Was it Death Watch had Mark 9?
I don't think it's ever been a Mark 9.
The Death Watch had slightly different because they had the bigger Gorgets, but it wasn't quite Mark 8 errant armor. So I don't know if it might have been considered Mark 9 or not. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, not as far as I know.
Grey Knights have got to be on the list of things to do eventually because the Grey Knights look absolutely tiddly now. It's tiny. It's actually ridiculous. Have you ever seen Primaris? I don't want to say Primaris, but the new scale Terminator next to one of the old boxy dreadnoughts?
No. Is it about half the size?
No, it's nearly as big.
Oh, as if.
No, it's nearly as big.
Madness.
Terminators are quite chunky.
I might put one together right now and see.
Not far off.
See if I agree with you. I've got my different book.
It's not as big, and it's obviously not as bulky, but it's
a
good. It's nearly up to like you've got the little slit halfway down the sarcophagus at the front. The Space Marine presumably is meant to be looking out of, even though he's going to have auto senses.
Yeah,
it's nearly up to there. They're big. They are big. So
I've not put any of mine together yet. They're still in my Deathwing box.
Yeah, all mine are still sitting in. I've got 3 squads, I think, because I bought a starter set because it was way cheaper than buying the other stuff.
Yeah.
Along with Leviathan, I think I've got 3 sets of Terminators. I'm just going to try and convert them up a little bit. I was going to try and make some Assault Terminators out of them, but because GW haven't bothered releasing the Assault versions.
No.
In all honesty, I'm not going to get round to it before they release them.
Probably not. I mean, the Assault versions I expect to be slightly chunkier because the old metal ones are always slightly chunkier than the tactical Terminators, whatever you want to call them.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see. The Terminators are such a good job.
Yeah.
I'll use a term I'm not used it in a while. Glow up.
Stop that.
They
got their nails done.
Yeah, I mean they really were. They're brilliant. They're not as squat, more upright, more imposing. They're brilliant. I cannot say anything wrong about the Terminators at all.
But yeah, just quickly, I remember when Mark 10 first became a thing. I believe it was 8th edition.
Yep.
We did that, and I think that was probably the last Warhammer Fest that we went to. Was that the one that we went to? It was me, you, and Mike. We chatted to
Jez for ages.
Yeah, that was it. Yeah, we chatted to him about the design and stuff, and he basically said that
Imperium, just before Dark
that was
Imperium.
it. Yeah, and he basically said that he wanted to redesign Marines to give them a cleaner, more tidy power armor, so that people could potentially bling them up with their own bits, rather than doing models that were just festooned with loads of shit all over the place.
More surface area. He wanted to make them more fun to paint, basically.
Yeah.
And to improve the scaling, because they were quite
odd.
bumpy. Dumpy. They all have that wide leg stance, like really quite wide leg stance.
Yeah.
And they're a little bit, like the proportions weren't quite right.
Yeah. You kind of frown at them. You're like, where are your legs in that, mate? Like,
Yeah.
it's like Terminators with the shoulders, mate. How are you fitting in that suit?
My Blades army is made entirely of either Assault on Macragge or Black Reach models. I think it's Assault on Macragge. And again, you put them next to a Primaris, and it's father son take to work day kind of thing. It's quite noticeable. Like the other one that was crazy was had the plastic eliminators, the sniper ones that came out.
Oh yeah.
In Phobos armor, you put one of those next to one of the old metal Scout sniper rifles.
Jeez.
It's like, yeah, don't talk like that to my son. It's ridiculous.
Sorry, the Scout what?
Sniper rifles.
Don't think they're a thing anymore, are they?
They are. You only get one per squad though, which is stupid. So stupid having just one per squad. Right, so you've got all your guys with bolt guns, and then you've got one guy with a sniper rifle.
Yep.
But what? No, you have a squad of sniper rifle.
Yeah.
Right, so I've clicked on the next army. This one is not so bad, but this is an army that is brand new. It was the second most recent army to Votan, I think.
I was about to say, if you're going to say Leagues of Votan are too big, I'm just going to log off right now.
Sisters of Battle.
Okay.
This is what I would expect an army to look like. Overall, there's 36 options.
Yeah.
I think that's enough. They've got some flyy dudes, dual builds. They've got some heavy dudes. They've got some dudes with shields. They've got the war suits.
I think most of their stuff is dual build, from what I remember from putting my sisters together.
Pretty sure it is. You've got a couple of nice big character models. You've got those pennant engines, Arc of Flagellants. I think this army is complete.
Yeah, the Flagellants and the
flyer. And some of these models are old models, like the old missionaries. Old models.
Yeah.
Old models. But yeah, 36
Crusaders.
Options, say obviously a few of these are sort of like you've got cards, you've got the combat patrol, blah 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 blah. So say maybe 30 overall, 30 data sheets. I think that's fine. I think that's absolutely fine for an army. I don't think you need any more than 30. I think 30 is enough. Certainly don't need 80. So we're going to look at another army. What do you reckon? Imperial Knights is obviously a outlier. They've got barely any. So we're not talking about that. Astra Militarum have got way less than you would think they would because they've obviously not got any of the other regiments, so we can ignore that. Same with Agents of the Imperium. Adeptus Mechanicus, again, a fairly small range.
I'd say same with Genestealer Cult, seeing as they had all the Imperial Guard stuff stripped out progressively with each codex release.
Genestealer Cult is another one where I'd say that is a complete army. Can't think of anything you need to add to it.
Imperial Guard.
Well, yeah, I mean, you can ally Imperial Guard in, can't you?
Without buying an Imperial Guard codex like it was in the first place.
You can ally in 20%. Is it 20% Imperial Guard?
Oh, maybe.
It's
25. No, I don't care.
I think I worked out I could just about fit a Baneblade into a 2,000 point army. So you literally have 1,500 points of Genestealers and then a 500 point Baneblade just sitting there. So yeah, again, Genestealer Cults I would consider to be a more or less a complete army. Again, they're very character heavy. They've got a lot of characters. 25 options available.
I think most of their elites are characters.
Yeah, absolutely. Most of these are characters. Can't really think of much that you need to do to the Genestealer Cult. I mean, really lacking anything. They're obviously going to get something. Of course they are. But I don't think you need to do anything to them.
They could get a bit of scenery, like a man cover that eats people. That'd be kind of cool.
Yeah. Again, I would say maybe something like a flyer. As soon as they said like you can't in the old edition, like you couldn't have Valkyries and stuff, I was like, well, they're a bit bollocks.
You could originally.
You could originally, absolutely, but not in the last.
Because you could ally them in from the IG Codex, which is why I got one. Yep. I had a Valkyrie, and then I sold it in the Codex after. They were like, you bastards, don't need that anymore, do I? Or my Chimera, or my Russ. Considering you took them out with every Codex release, it was like, nope. Go and buy an Imperial Guard Codex, and I'm like, how's about I fucking don't? Because I don't play Imperial Guard. I don't want a Codex.
Orcs have 65.
Well, they do like to, propagate a fair bit.
But I can kind of, because with the Orcs you've got kind of the speed freaks, you've got the
sneaky gits.
Beastie Boys. They're not called Beastie Boys, but that's what I'm calling them from now on. And they're fighting for their right to party.
Oh, jeez. I'll just fight for any right. Fight for their right to fight.
Beast Snaggers, yeah. So you've got the different, it's not, 60, 65 isn't, it's a big model count army. I do think some of it is a little bit unnecessary, but you know, again, it's a lot of options. Tyranids, I think, is another huge one. We were talking in the previous video about how Tyranids used to have 12 options in their codex.
That was a while ago.
It was second edition, to be fair. 56 options now.
Sneaky.
So
Or
say
they can
45,
get rid of that shitty new.
40,
Get rid of the shitty Neurolictor. That's one
45
gone.
data things. This is the thing. Like, they keep expanding the armies, and they're not stripping out the fat.
No.
And it's 10 times worse because they try and make every model dual build. So, for example, not only do you have Venomthropes, you also have Toxithropes. Not only do you have the Tyranid Harpy, you have the Hive Crone.
Yeah, but they're both good though.
Not only do you have the Tyrant Guard, you have the Hive Guard. You know, everything's dual build.
Yeah.
Tervigon, Tyrannifex, blah, 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 blah. And all it does is just bump up the numbers. And then there's stuff that they put in the Leviathan. I don't know why you'd ever take it. Psychophage. Only any good if you find it's got a Psyker.
It's crap.
So for a start,
like
five armies it doesn't work against.
Yeah, like it looks all fancy and gribbly, but it's as a unit, it's crap.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. The Toxicrene. Never really saw a point in that or what it does.
Never liked it. I've got to do McCarran instead.
Yeah, Haruspex is like not really necessary.
Looks awesome though.
The Maleceptor, again, no, don't like it.
Again, I like mine. So no.
Looks like somebody just saw the Alien Crusher.
What?
Aliens.
Oh, the Crusher. Yeah.
Yeah. And
The big hunchy one.
We need a tuned version. Yeah, the hunched up one. We need a tuned version of that. Again, and all they're going to do, presumably, is add to it.
That was all 6th and 7th edition stuff. All those ones that they got there, like Shield of Baal, I think it was, that introduced a bunch of those.
Yes, that sounds about right. I like the Exocrine. Never thought we might see a 40k Exocrine. I used to play Epic back in the day, so that's.
I actually prefer the Haruspex, model wise.
No, I hate the Haruspex with its stupid, explodey, not very well done, Lovecrafty mouth.
I think it's great.
The Exocrine's got a great big cheesy green and a big cannon. Lack of penis is fantastic.
It's very orky. Very orky looking, just a grinning idiot head.
In 3rd edition, when they redesigned the Tyranids, the whole idea was that they Tyranids had been assimilating DNA from the different races. So the Zoanthropes were meant to look like Eldar Wraithguard.
Oh yeah, and I think it was Biovores, which was supposed to be made from like orc DNA. Yeah.
The Hive Guard were Space Marines, which either had that really thick armor and those big shields.
A bit chonky.
Tower didn't exist, I don't think. Dark Elder wouldn't move things.
In 3rd they did.
How? When it first came out, I don't think so.
Yeah, that was 3rd edition.
They weren't on launch army for 3rd.
No, but their first codex was 3rd edition.
In the edition, but after Tyranids is what I'm saying.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So again, potentially just a bit too much. 50 odd different units, and just like, even if you have one of everything, that's like ridiculous amounts. So yeah, and then as I say, that's split across 26 odd different factions or 25 factions or whatever. It's just I think, and that's 40k. That's their biggest, their flagship thing. That is a massive. Each edition they've got to try and do 20 plus codexes, a model update of at least one model to each of the armies, because otherwise people will get upset. Get
moany. Yeah, here's your new character. Thanks.
I mean, to be fair, if you add mech, I totally get it. Not only did you get shafted in the new codex, your new model also looks like wank. So I do, don't get me wrong, I do fucking get it, because
technically I'm an AdMech player, but again, they're shelved for 10th. If they were shelved for 9th, if they're shelved for 10th.
Yeah, no, mine are shelved. I started painting them, and I was just like, I'm not having as much fun painting these as I thought I would, because it just wasn't working for me. I struggle painting black, and 2, I sort of like, there was just nothing really inspired me about it.
30k mechanical was much better.
Exactly,
much better.
Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, like with AdMech, like the first bunch of releases, like when you had Skitarii and Cult Mechanicus as 2 separate codexes.
Yes.
The models were amazing for all of them. Like, I mean, the Electro Priests are a little bit of a Marmite unit.
Everything else in the army I really liked. I loved
everything else was amazing. Yeah, and then their second wave was a bit like, what? You've got some dudes riding giant mechanical dogs. You've got some guys.
We're going a bit zany for the sake of it.
Yeah, you've got some guys with bat wings. You've got like a flyer that looks like it's out of Flash Gordon. And then you've got like a World War II boarding craft for armor. I'm like, what have you done? No,
Yeah.
it's far too zany. Where's some focus? Give a focus back.
And then look at obviously you would expect to see at least one new faction this edition.
Maybe.
Would it be Dark Mechanicus? Would it be a new alien race? We don't know. But traditionally they do one faction per. And obviously, don't forget, on top of that, they've taken the Chaos Gods and separated those out. And whereas previously it was just a Chaos army and a unit for each of the Chaos Gods, now it's an army for each of the Chaos Gods.
Codex, yeah.
Potentially including Vashtor if we get Dark Mechanicus or something.
He doesn't count. It's a stupid idea.
It's
a silly model.
So again, just it's such a load, and that's just Warhammer 40,000. Okay, it's their biggest thing by far.
Yep.
That's just Warhammer 40,000. On top of that, you've got Age of Sigmar, Horus Heresy, Old World, Middle Earth, and then all the other games.
You missed out Epic. You make me sad.
Epic, unfortunately, is in other games. It sucks, but it's true. On their website, I'm going by their website. So it's absolutely massive, and you've got to think that they're already having production problems. Very public production
obvious
problems.
Very obvious problems.
Good word for it. Obvious production problems. And they're constantly expanding the brand. It's constantly getting more popular. I mean, Uncle Adam talked about a tipping point for customers. There's got to be a breaking point for GW.
Yeah.
They've got to be almost there. 140,000, Age of Sigmar, those are two, as I said, 20-odd faction games. But Age of Sigmar might not be quite that many. They're done by alliances, aren't they? Order. Oh, no, okay, it's shitloads.
Bit out of the loop for that one.
There's 9 Order factions. Death.
It's going to be the most, isn't it?
5 Death factions. Holy shit, there's 8 Chaos factions. So that's 21. And there's 5 Destruction factions. So, 4 Destruction factions. So I was correct. 25 factions. So that's 2 games with 25 factions. One of which, Age of Sigmar, needs a lot more support than the others. Because like Skaven practically doesn't exist and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it needs a lot more army support. And then on top of that, as you've correctly said, you've got Horus Heresy, where you still only, at the moment, at the time of print, you still only have one faction 2 years after the game launch, more or less. And that faction is Space Marines.
Hey.
You've got the rules for the other stuff, but I mean, there's no solid auxiliary models yet. There's no Mechanicum models yet.
Resin.
Nobody's going to buy them off you. Nobody is. The people who had Horus Heresy armies will obviously use their armies that they've got. But nobody is going to, from scratch, do a Mechanicus army for Horus Heresy. Looking at those prices, I just don't think it's going to happen. I mean, when you look at Space Marines and how much cheaper they are, I think you're just going to do the Space Marines every single time. Work there, and then you've got Epic as well, and then that's assuming they don't come out with a new game like Battlefleet Gothic or something. And then you've got the Old World. It's got 10 different factions in it, I think. Even with the cut down amount they did, it's got loads. I think Warhammer's too, and then I genuinely think it might be too big for GW at the moment. I think they may have just not necessarily bitten off more than they can chew, but just expanded beyond their capacity.
Maybe.
Because they keep hitting people with new releases more or less every week. I know it's dropped off a little bit. Obviously that's one of the biggest signs that they're having production problems. But there was a stage when it was a big box every month, without fail. Every month, I counted it. Every month, like a period of nearly a year, there was a big box of something.
Are you sure?
Yep. Even if it's just, I'm counting big boxes like the 2-player starter set like that came out. You remember the battle boxes that came out? We had 2 armies. I'm counting that as a big box. I'm counting the season boxes of Kill Team and stuff like that as a big box. Every month.
To be fair, they were.
Box. Yeah, exactly.
The new ones aren't. The new ones are about half the size.
Yeah, and not half the price. Every month there was a big box coming out. It was absolutely insane. So yeah, I mean, did they maybe just push it a bit too far too quickly, and that's why they're having so many problems? I mean, I wonder how much of their stuff is actually out of stock. Is there an easy way, do you think, to find out?
I don't know. With their new website, I'd hate to even suggest an idea of how to find out.
Shop for 140,000.
And to be fair, people don't generally search on a website to find stuff that they can't get.
No, I mean, this is one of the other crazy things about the website at the moment is whoever's designing their carousels and stuff like that needs to start eliminating the out of stock stuff.
Yeah.
Because again, you can sort of like filter down by army to a point, and then you go down to the carousel, and you could have the entire carousel is out of stock. And it's like, well, that's appealing, isn't it? You know, you can't have any of this stuff. It's like the Warhammer community article last night.
That wasn't out of stock as well, was it?
No, it linked to you know, the Great Slaughter cards are coming. You can use those with the cards from the core game, and then linked you to the cards from the core game,
which you can't get,
and haven't been able to get since it came out.
No, they're not had a reprint.
This is what I'm talking about when I say I don't think Warhammer community knows what it's doing. Why would you do it? Just literally, here's your link. Can't get it. It makes you look like twats.
Well, yeah, but again, it's just an example of what the format's going to look like. In case you didn't know,
It wouldn't be too bad if it was temporarily out of stock. That'd be fine.
I'm sure Games Workshop see it as temporary, but given that they're not very transparent, so they won't tell us when they're getting any more in. It might as well be permanent.
What happened with Titanic? We kind of got reprints, but less quality, didn't we?
Yeah, the terminals went from decent, chunky, thick card with holes punched in it for the counters to just shitty, standard, thin card.
Yeah.
Which was a massive shame.
The website is so bad.
Please do not speak of it.
It's got to be the fail of last year. Even the clips in last year, or was it this year? It must have been last year.
Last year.
Even Eclipse.
Yeah, because we were like, why have you done this just before Christmas?
Oh, just before Christmas. That's right. Yeah.
Everyone's like everyone's wish list have just gone up to Swanee. Well done.
Like this one here. So you look at the Combat Patrol Dark Angels. It says temporarily out of stock.
Yeah.
Now you and I know full well that is not coming back into stock because it's getting replaced.
Yeah.
Why put temporarily out of stock on it? It's just so stupid. And I still can't believe the Space Marine one's online only and 13 models. Jesus Christ.
It's because it's embarrassing.
Yeah, they do the best, and I'm sure they do the best. I'm sure the teams internally do their best, but just so much stuff out, you know. I don't know how they can do it all. And especially when you consider how small like, the specialist games department is. That's obviously, is Warhammer too big from a production and size, status, and things like that?
Nah, it's fine.
I can't agree with you because like loads of their stuff's out of stock. They clearly can't make enough. Another thing that, or another aspect that I suppose you could explore is Warhammer too big, would be from the perspective is Warhammer too popular, and therefore is Warhammer becoming too mainstream?
Yes, ban all the new people.
I don't think banning new people is the answer.
You're so lenient. I don't know what's happened to you. You've changed, man.
I think GW would need to be cautious of changing a setting that people find appealing for a very specific reason too much. Warhammer 40,000 is already quite, with the Primaris Marines, it already seems to have lost a certain something.
Yeah.
With regards to the grimdark setting, where it's like Gilliman goes in his great big crusade, goes, oh, it's Primaris Marines, you get Primaris Marines, you get Primaris Marines. It's all, it just seems to be a little bit what I would call peak 40k.
It was a bit shark jumpy.
Yes, yeah, that's very much.
Here's an admech guy that you've never heard of,
yes,
doing his utmost best to duplicate in the work of the Emperor. He has managed to improve Space Marines, which is something that's never been done before.
The Emperor can do it. He has.
And by the way, this has all been going on since like what 30k. So
yes, 10,000. Exactly,
so it's not new, and we're all like, what the fuck?
Yeah, I don't know. It's one of the biggest things that I think I had about it personally was like, well, these guys would have been useful. 50 different occasions that I can think of in the last 10,000 years.
Yeah.
You know, it's just like, yeah. It's like, so are these guys 10,000 years old? Because that would make them older than Dante. I'm like, what? No, yeah. We're going to do a separate video on Primaris, but
once the current storm in a teacups died down.
Yeah. Once the whole West Hammer major kill thing's going on, that's why. I mean, that was going to be the one that we covered. I just figured I didn't want to put that out when there's a whole hoo-ha.
I still reckon we should have just done it. I mean, anything that we say, our format is pretty different from theirs. Like,
absolutely,
we could have got away with that.
It's just the title. because their titles were nearly exactly the same as what I was saying. So
Oh.
my one was like, "Oh, did Primaris ruin the Astartes or something?" And then theirs was like, "Do people hate the Primaris or something like that?" And I was just like, "Oh God!" So no, we can revisit that later. We've done this one for today. This mainstream appeal, presumably with a TV series on the horizon, is only going to get more
appealing.
well, more mainstream. Yes, is the word I'm after. I mean, already I would say it's weird. It's really, really weird because sometimes you'll get something super cartoony that comes out.
Yeah.
And you look at it and you're like, oh God, that's fucking horrible.
That fucking
And then they'll go and
Mario
release
Kart.
something. Yeah, exactly. And then they'll go and release something like the new Flesh Eater Corpse.
And you're like, that's amazing.
And you're like, that's fucking amazing. Like that guy actually has brains for a judge's hat. I can't remember what they're called. But no, not Pimple. Wimple. No, that's
Yes.
a nun. No, that's a nun. Wimple's a nun.
No, I don't know what they're called. The judges.
If you judge his wig, yeah. And I'm like, that's fucking amazing, you know, like or intestines or brains or something. I can't remember what it is. But like, you know, these new flesh, and I was like, that's really cool. Like, you know, I don't need to see tits and that kind of stuff, but that's proper nasty, dark, what I would expect them to be and not cartoony. I don't need to have tits. You can always put tits on yourself. And then I go and look at you know,
like in Blackadder.
Yeah. Oh, Melchior, you've not even got a fake pair of breasts.
Au contraire, Blackadder. Massive golden pair.
Oh, magnificent.
That's my favourite Blackadder. Second one.
What?
Second one and the fourth one.
The second.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Second
think
and
for
four.
pure comedy, yes. But I don't think you can knock the impact that Blackadder Goes Forth had.
No.
Never before had something like that been tackled for comedy.
No.
You had things like,
so well.
What's the one? Oh, it ain't our fault, Sarge.
Ain't our fault, Mum.
Is it? No, Sarge?
Oh,
whatever, yeah, that one.
With Windsor Davis. That was Crimean War, wasn't it?
That was, yeah, there's Crimean War, and it wasn't in the trenches, and it didn't really. Blackadder had some pretty big barbs about the futility of war and the way the war was run and how stupid the criminals were and stuff like that. And It Ain't Our Fault, Mum didn't really. It had the shouty sergeant, I can't remember his name. And
Windsor Davis.
No, the actual character's name.
Oh, I don't know.
And that was more or less the crux around which it turned. Same as Dad's Army.
Yeah.
You know, Dad's Army again was a kind of like a comedy. I don't want to diminish it because obviously Dad's Army in its own way was very good and it's very good character works. And Ian Lavender recently passed away. He was the last one. Yeah, he died like last week, and he was the very last one of them. But there was never any real depth to it.
No.
Blackadder did have that. It did definitely have that. Because obviously the whole idea was Blackadder was trying to escape the trenches because he knew what the war would be. So yeah, although I love 2, and I think 2 is my most quotable, and it's got the most memorable episodes, I don't think you can knock the impact that 4 had. I think that's a big part of why they didn't continue it, because I think they do like Bolt Thrower, they couldn't top it.
No, they did one more. They did one more episode. I think it was like it was an anniversary or a New Year's or.
It was it was a Children in Need thing, I think.
Oh yeah, maybe they found like a time machine, if I remember right. Yeah.
Time travel thing, and he ends up being Prime Minister. I mean, they did also do, which was very good, Blackadder Christmas Carol.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Where it's like the opposite. He starts out really nice, and then realizes that he could get much more by basically being a cunt. And then he's into the Blackadder we know and love. Yeah, I think 2 has got the best episodes.
It's the most poignant.
4 is the most poignant.
Yes.
In the war. 2 is just funny. It's like, you got Blackadder trying to teach Baldric to count.
Yeah, with the beans.
I have 2 beans, and I add another 2 beans. What do I have?
Some beans.
Very small casserole. It's like Baldric. There are tribes in Papua New Guinea that have mastered this. Oh, yeah. Oh man, I need to watch Blackadder again now. Blackadder and maybe some Red Dwarf.
Yes. Both good British institutions of comedy. Where were we?
Yeah, I mean that's our moan about Warhammer out of the way, I think.
Yeah, sounds like it.
Yeah, I think I've run out of steam. I mean, I think it wouldn't be so bad. I think the Marines are the most egregious example. Where,
of bloat.
Of bloat, yeah, exactly that. As I say, before you would have assault marines, devastators, tactical marines, veterans, terminators, and each of those might have a couple of variants. So, for example, for the veterans, you might have Stern Guard and Vanguard. They've got jump packs.
I never have Stern Guard or Vanguard.
Terminators, you had assault
Deathwing.
terminators, and you had normal terminators. Well, no, without getting into the chapter stuff, because obviously
I know.
the chapter stuff was what gave them the flavour. And I feel like a lot of that's gone because there's so many options for the Space Marines. So for your bog standard Space Marines, it was like, I've got Devastator, Tactical, Assault, Scout, Terminator, Veterans. Yeah? And then I've got my character. That's it, done. That's my flavour was. And for the Ultramarines, the flavour came from the characters. So you had Tigurius, Misty McFist, Algar, and Telion, I think the Scout Sniper was.
Oh, the Sergeant.
Yeah, and now it's like, say for example, you're a Blood Angels player, and it's like, well, I've got all these different things, so like, I don't know, whatever, 30 different squad types for Primaris, and then on top of that, I've got my Sanguinary Guard, and on top of that, I've got my Death Company, and it's just it's just I think a lot of it is Space Marines. I think it's too bloated. It's massively too bloated. It's too much choice. I think a lot of them do the same bloody thing. Incursors and Infiltrators. I don't know what the difference is between them. You've got Scouts. Do you really need Reavers? Are they not doing the same thing? And if not, are Reavers redundant? And if so, then fuck you if you've got loads of Reavers, I guess. And just massively bloated, massively too much. Every squad, like every weapon is a different squad.
Yep.
So, Space Marines, before you'd have special weapons.
What are they, Eldar?
Jeez. Squad. Yeah, exactly. And now you've got Hellblasters, whatever hell's meant to be.
Yeah.
You've Infernus Marines with their flamers. You've got the Eradicators with the melter guns. And it's just, the whole idea of a tactical marine was they could adapt. They had a missile launcher and they had a special weapon and they could split up into combat squads. So you can, it's just all in the sake of marketing and sales. The bloat is just absolutely incredible.
Indeed.
And
unfortunate.
And yes, very unfortunate. Very unfortunate. I think it is. I think 26 factions alone is too big. Even before we get into the individual model counts for armies, like Tyranids, which is stupid now. There's nothing more than 20 different types of Tyranid to choose from. You don't need 50. You don't need 50. There's not that much tactical difference between them. There just isn't. Tyranids are you're never going to have a shooty Tyranid army.
Oh, I don't know.
What you do, the whole idea behind Tyranids is basically get them in there, and you can have like a Nidzilla army where it's based around large creatures, but then even so, you don't need to have 20 different large creatures to do that.
I do.
You just don't. Yeah, I think 26 factions is too many, especially when you're trying to balance them against each other.
It's pretty tricky, to be fair.
After a point, the factions are going to lose their unique selling points. You're going to struggle to differentiate them enough when you've got all these different different factions. I think it becomes very difficult to A, give them much identity, and to B, rules wise, keep them balanced. So again, Space Marines, I think, are one of the biggest problems. Space Marines don't play like they do in the lore.
No.
Space Marines get killed really, really, really fucking easily. Space Marines meant to be the equivalent of like 10 dudes. No, not in the slightest. And again, I think there's too many factions. I don't know how big the 40k team is, but I'd be very surprised if it's more than a dozen people. Actually, like just looking at the rules, for example, it's probably more like 3 or 4 people. And then you've got 26 factions.
Weeping.
Then you get stuff like the launch, where the Eldar are so broken that we're now 9 months later and they've still not really managed to fix them.
Nope.
And Liam made some really good points in his interview with the painting phase about the problems inherent there. You could say like Eldar have a 50% win rate. If everybody's playing Eldar, that's going to automatically happen because the Eldar are playing the Eldar.
Yep, true.
That doesn't make it balanced. It also means they've technically got a 100% win rate.
Makes it spammy.
It just exactly. It's just and that's the problem with getting the information from just the
competitive scene.
Just the competitive scene. And as I say, Liam had some really good ideas with how to add narrative flavour and stuff and what you would do to change that. So I think that Warhammer is too big. I would like to see it stripped down. It would suck for the people who have the models. Primaris in particular would lose a third of their range and not be affected.
Yeah, to be fair.
Or at least, if not a third of their range, do things like have a heavy weapons squad that can have different weapons options.
Yeah.
And then if you want to give them more missile launchers, give them more missile launchers. You don't have to. You haven't got different. You haven't got different SQUs for each.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, who do they think they are, Eldar?
Well, even with Eldar, it's more to do with the path of the aspect. It makes more sense.
Yeah, I know. I just been lumping all the same weapons into one unit. I'm like, no, that's the Eldar thing. What are you doing?
The Fire Dragons have a role. The Dark Reapers have a role. It'd be like, if you brought out Dark Reapers that are anti-tank and then a separate squad of Dark Reapers that are anti-personnel.
Yeah.
It's like, what? No, that's just stupid. So, yeah, I mean, I think Space Marines are the biggest problem, and unfortunately they're also their biggest seller and their flagship, all that kind of stuff. So all the stuff we're talking about is never going to happen. It's just going to be more and more Space Marines added on until eventually they have to split the Space Marine Codex into 2 books. or you can literally kill somebody with it.
To be fair, as a Dark Angels player, they already expect me to buy 2 books.
Yeah, true.
Which I think is a bit of a chip. I would happily not have access to a whole bunch of Marine stuff again, just to have 1 book with all my stuff in it.
I think this is again a problem with the format and the sales sales strategy that GW do, where they update armies one by one over the course of an edition. That again adds to a massive problem for balance, because an army comes out, it's compared to the army before, it's not properly. They won't get around to fixing it for 6 months now. So the ad make are screwed for 6 months because nothing happened to them in the last data slate, and the next one's not due until later in the year. It's every 6 months, isn't it? The way that they do it, I do not think is conducive to a good game. I mean, it's designed to keep people buying. Here's the new shinies, here's the new army, go and get your new army. But what I would do for the health of the game is I would basically do all the armies are released exactly the same, like an index, but it's their actual codex. And it'd be like, we have play tested the shit out of this. These armies are as balanced, because you cannot tell me that anybody play tested those Eldar.
To be fair, I don't think anyone play tested 10th at all.
Someone had a hard on for the Eldar, and was just like, yeah, all the dice, all the re-rolls.
Phil Kelly, is that you?
It's like hilarious. Do you remember when they come out with the first Warhammer community article? They said like, simplified, not simple. And they went, this edition's a lot less lethal and there's a lot less re-rolls.
Nonsense.
And it was like, excuse me, this army is like entirely fucking re-rolls.
Yep.
It's their core mechanics. Shut up. But yeah, I mean, what I would do is I would, as I say, start of a new edition within 2-3 months. It doesn't have to be all at once necessarily, but at least within the first 2-3 months of the life of the thing, every single army is released. It's been balanced against each other and plays as a balanced game, so nobody feels like, oh, there's just no point taking our army. I might as well buy this new one. I know that wouldn't make Games Workshop money, but that's not the point. It'd be for a better game. And then what I would do is I would do supplements throughout the life of the edition that add stuff, and I would probably do like special characters and different war zones and some different rules and different campaigns and stuff like that. And then that would also give you time to address the production issues that you have, because you haven't got to constantly be working on the next army.
Yeah.
And if that means that 11th took an extra year or 2 years to come out, that would suck because you'd be stuck with 10. So be it.
But mind you, the way their editions are going at the moment, 10th might be better than 11th. 11th is just going to be like an IKEA instruction book.
I was thinking about this the other day because I was watching that battle report of Winters, and it was a lot better, but you've still got the whole problem that Games Workshop's had and they refuse to fix, which is you go, I go. So my entire army gets to go, and
it's
basically
mad.
when you get to go, you will have less army to fight me back with.
Back in the day when you had less models on the table, not so much of an issue. But now, when you have a shitload of models on the table and a lot of them are shooty, especially if you're like Tau or someone, that's
Back
a
in the day,
whole lot of deleting.
Very lucky to remove a vehicle in 1 turn of shooting. You'd be very lucky to remove a squad in 1 turn of shooting back in the old days of the 2nd edition 40k.
Yeah.
It was even a few of the slightly later editions after the 2nd. But now you could easily delete a third of somebody's army in 1 turn.
Yep.
So I think you've either got to do alternate activations. You've got to.
As much as a stickler as I am for tradition, that is the way.
Yep. Either that, or this is my alternative. You do not remove casualties until the end of both players' turns.
No, madness. That's going to be way too confusing.
You've got to keep track of it, but that would be the only That'd be the only way I could think of doing it.
Well,
Because
people moan there's too much bookkeeping as it is.
yeah, but it's the wrong kind of bookkeeping. It's like every unit has got a special rule. Why has every
Wrong
unit
kind of
got a
people.
special rule? The armies are probably too big to do that with. But again, in second edition, you could have done it easily.
Yep.
Like, oh, that unit's lost 3 men. Or fire back with them all, and then I'll do my break test and take 3 men away, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But the fact that one army basically gets to have an alpha strike, and they try to mitigate it with things like you get points at the end of your 5th turn, but it doesn't matter if you haven't got any army left to get those points.
No, it's bonkers. Like so many games have like a alternative activations. It just makes sense.
Nearly every other game, I'm pretty sure. Yeah. The ones I can't talk for are Mantic. Can't talk about Mantic, but I think even they've got alternate activation. I think GW is like the same as the GW paint pots. They're not great.
No.
GW will not go to drop off. They'll never ever go to drop off because it's what everybody else uses.
Yeah.
And they want to be different.
Yeah, they won't. I mean, to be fair, Games Workshop paint pots, most of the issues from their paint pots, and this is me included because I'm a stubborn git, is from people sitting there using the inside of the lid as a palette, and they'll just dip their brush into it and paint rather than use an actual palette. And then they just end up collecting paint around the rim, and then when they close it, they end up getting paint drying in between the rim and the lid, and it just builds up over time, and then it don't seal the lid properly, and then it dries out.
And they're far from the worst. One of the biggest problems with the current GW paint pots, and as I say, they are far from the worst, even that GW have done, is that they've got that stupid little sort of lip thing. And the guy they had on Painting Face talked about this.
The little wedge at the back.
Yeah, that's meant to hold it at just the right angle.
But it don't.
But it doesn't. So what happens is paint backflows into the rim.
Yep.
Dries in the rim, and then your paint don't close properly, and then then your paint's fucked.
And then you're buggered over time, unless you get a knife and dig it all out of the rim, which is a pain in the ass.
It was just a pain in the ass. But yeah, I don't think you're getting changed. They're not the worst. The old flip top black lids were really bad, and the screw lids are even worse than that.
No, I still remember the old white lid ones, which are
now have many of them.
Yeah, they're now done by Coat d'Arms. You can still get most of the old colours.
You can also get them from Foundry, if I remember correctly.
Huh. Those things used to wreck my thumb.
Yes.
Opening those with like
the worst thing
side of your thumb.
The little tab would snap off.
Yeah. Yes.
And then you're just like, oh.
I remember that. God damn it.
As you say, the thumb would pay.
Harking back to issues with GW, like I've frequently said since 10th edition came out, is that for some of us, like me, it's the worst time to be into Warhammer because we've got the best models that I've seen in a long time, and just frankly the shittest rules. The shittest.
Every now and again, I see some rules, and I'm like, okay, I like that rule. I like
what you tried to do there. But when the core rule set is just simplified crap, it's just like, there's only so much you can do with it.
Even some of the core rules, I don't mind. But I think overall it's not a good system. It's a system that's designed to make the game as easy and accessible and fluid. I say quick, but it's not a quick game.
As fluid as possible. But yeah, it's not.
Yes, fluid as possible.
Like Granny Poo.
And as I say, it's not worked, because if it had worked, you would not need a 20-page rules commentary.
No, not at all. And the thing that I have to keep reminding myself of in my frail dotage now that I've been playing this, been into this hobby since Rogue Trader and First Edition Space Hulk, is that unfortunately, apart from when they sit down and they do a boxed game, which actually turns out to be really good, for the most part, Games Workshop, despite their name, are a miniatures company that just happens to make games on the side.
Yes, the games are made to sell the models.
And bafflingly, their flagship ones are, these days, some of the worst games they've ever done. Like, I can't speak for AOS, but 40k has gone in a similar format to that.
Yes, I mean, they finished AOSing 40k in this edition.
Yeah, it's horrific.
They stripped out the characteristics. They did keep roll to hit, roll to wound, which I'm grateful for, because that would have been just a stretch too far, I think.
Yeah.
But I think that to a point, command points, re-rolls, points or the objective system fundamentally cripples the game.
Yeah, to
Stratagems
me,
don't seem to be as much of a thing now that they've got rid of a
they've
lot of
stripped them
them,
down. Yeah,
and
it's not so much gotcha
and
bullshit,
there's not so many command points
which is
bouncing
also
about.
good. Yeah, I mean, to me,
But
like 40k has traditionally been about coming up with a plan, having a decent army list, which gives you a hope of executing that plan on the battlefield that you've got, and you stick with that, and you do your best to win. And there's the only lols you pull out of a hat is usually if you've brought a psyker along and they've got various different powers to choose from, which can make them a bit of a wild
or
card.
if you get that exceptional dice roll,
Yeah.
that
Oh yeah.
mental dice roll that happens. But even that's been eradicated now because the amount of rerolls you get.
Yeah.
So you
No,
got
I
a crazy
mean,
event happen. It's like, oh, never mind, I can just undo that.
I mean, when it comes to the choices that you can make, like if your opponent knows what you've got, because obviously by the time you start playing, they know what you've got because you've put it on the table in front of them in case they didn't know before you started.
Back in the day, really only characters got to re-roll bits.
Yeah, which is
Like
pretty
if you
much how
gave
it
your
should be.
character a mastercraft, I think it was mastercrafted. Gave a mastercrafted weapon.
Rerolls once these
They could
days.
re-roll
Well, used
hits.
to.
But now so much stuff can re-roll. You're basically rolling, right, okay, I'm hitting on 2s, re-rolling 1s, wounding on 3. You're
It's
saving
because
the 4.
it improves the probability of getting the result that they want, which is
But the thing is,
usually a
this
result
is
that
the
helps
other
them remove models off the table, which is kind of the whole point in having a competitive
this
game,
is
and
the
they
other
can get through
problem
it
with having
quicker.
a D6 system. You lack the granularity.
Yeah.
You've got stuff like sort of strength 14 going up against strength 6 and
I'd
trying
like a
to
D10.
replicate that on a D6.
D10 seems legit.
Yeah, I'd do it on D10s. I'd do the
Yeah,
entire game on D10s.
works for me.
Personally.
But yeah, too
Game
complicated for some
wasting
people, I bet.
I liked that used to exist. JC Fairclough did. I used D10s. It was fantastic. It just allows for so much more. You got D6. The best you can hit on is a 1. The worst you can hit on is a 6.
Yeah, the probabilities go up by like 17% per dice face, and that's not a great variance in different results of what can happen when you roll a dice.
But yeah, I mean, and again, that's one of the reasons why, at the end of the day, Space Marines don't really play like they do in the lore.
Nope.
I mean, Space Marines should be like Custodes.
Yeah, pretty much.
Basically. That's what they should be like.
And to be fair, Custodes shouldn't be a thing.
And Custodes shouldn't be a thing. And
Strictly speaking.
Primarchs certainly should not be a thing. I wish, and I mean this, I wish they had never brought Primarchs back to 40k.
I think they should probably have some more restrictions on when you can bring them.
I don't want them in it. I just don't want them in it.
But I'm happy to see the models. But
the models are lovely.
But I think it should be a lot more like Heresy, where you can only spend up to 25% of your points on Primarchs and or Lords of War.
Yeah, that sounds like the old second edition rules. No wonder I like Heresy so much. And yeah,
like,
only in a certain army size as well, I think.
Yeah, it's like I said in our last episode. If for 11th edition, or even if alongside 10th, some genius at Games Workshop just went, we've just taken the Heresy rule set. Even though it's not perfect, it's still a decent rule set with a good amount of depth, and we've transposed all the current 40k stuff over to that. Here's some indexes based off of those. Knock yourselves out and have a decent in-depth game that takes a while to play. And I'd be like, thank you very much. You've given me 7 armies back for 40k that I've collected over the last 30 years. Thank you very much. I love you. Where do I send the flowers and the check?
Like USRs are so much better than what we've got at the moment. I know that we've technically got USRs in 40k, but like literally in that Winter's game, I keep going back to it. I will actually link it in the description because it's an excellent battle report.
It's a good game.
You just turn around and go, right, okay, this has got Armor Bane, Shred, and Deflagrate. And
everyone knows what it is.
Everybody knows what it is.
Straight off.
Right away, everybody knows what it is. Rather than being like, right, I've got these Howling Banshees, and they will re-roll hits on the charge, and they will do this, and then your unit will have this special rule, and my unit can do this, and my unit can do special sticky objectives, and my unit makes you take a break test, and it's so much. And that's another thing when I say Warhammer's too big. It's hard enough to learn your own army, let alone everybody else's.
Yeah, it's like, yes, it makes you feel special because you've got fancy rules to yourself, but your army's not that special. It's only special to you.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah, and it's
it can have USRs the same as anyone else's. It's far less bullshit to worry about.
like technically, the Horus Heresy has got 23 factions. Technically, if we're taking each of the legions as an individual faction.
Yeah.
But even if you do that, each legion just has what? A universal special rule for the actual legion.
Yep.
And
Yep.
half a dozen reactions, maybe half a dozen special characters.
No, not even that. They've got their Legion specific special rule. They've got a Legion specific advanced reaction, and then they've obviously got their Primarch, and then maybe a handful of maybe 2 to 4 fancy weapons that are unique to them, and maybe 2 to 4 special units. That's it.
Yeah, okay. So you could,
unless you're Dark Angels, in which case we get more stuff.
Yeah, because you're traitors and loyalists at the same time, so it makes sense. You could theoretically say, like, you had a hobby group of 6 people.
We do.
And 5 of them were legions, and then one of them was, I don't know, demons or something.
Add Mechanicum.
Or Mechanicum.
Because I'm the only Mechanicum player in our group, so that works.
So you could learn those armies.
Yeah.
You know, as Shang Tsung says. Shang Tsung? Oh, that's Mortal Kombat.
Sun Tzu.
Sun Tzu, that's it. Fuck's sake. I'm not even drinking alcohol tonight. I've got water because I'm on doctor's orders.
I've got cider.
You lucky bastard. No, I've had no alcohol for a week now, and I can't have any until the 23rd.
That'll teach you to have funky insides, won't it?
I know, right? You could learn those armies. So you could be like, right, okay, Mike does Emperor's Children. I've got a little bit to learn to learn how his army works. Dave's got Iron Warriors. Again, not too hard. Special army rule, special, units and a reaction. And then, I've got to learn one army for the Mechanicus. Okay, now take those same 6 players and give them 6 different 40k armies. Fucking nightmare.
Yep.
Hard enough learning your own army, especially if you're learning Space Marines. But then say, like, they've got. Thankfully, I suppose you can slightly tailor it depending on what their collections are. Say they've got an extensive collection, they've got like nearly one of everything. The tune is that's 50 data sheets you're going to have to learn.
Yep.
And 36 stratagems because they could take one of any 6 detachments. And he's like, what? And then each of those, it would be bad enough if it was just data sheets. So you're like, okay, these guys have got like a high weapon skill. These, just generalising what they do. But then on top of that, each unit's got a special rule. It's not a USR; it's an actual special rule.
Yep.
And you're just like, the fuck? Warhammer's too big. I've said it. It's too big. It's ridiculous. 26 factions, ridiculous. I look at things like Infinity. I look at things like, I know they're smaller games like skirmish games and stuff like that, but I look at Infinity. I look at Malifaux. I look at War Machine. I look at
War Machine is still going.
I think they're going to be next to go. They've already stopped doing P3 paints. It's done, which is a shame because I like some P3 paints.
Oh no! You're serious?
Yep, it's gone. The P3's done.
Fuck's sake! I literally just found my replacement for Charon and Granite. At the end of last year.
I'm gutted that I won't be able to get any more coal black because I love coal black and there's not really.
I have to find some more and buy more. I need it for my Tyranids.
I'm gonna have to have a look in Code at Arms, see if I can get some. All of those games have way less factions. I think Mantic's like 8, maybe. And Kings of 4 got a few more, but about 8 factions, I suppose.
No.
And probably half the amount of units that these 40k games have got. And I think Games Workshop have just proved they're not good enough, games-wise, to balance this game. And I can't say for sure that it's necessarily, although I do think that Kemp has quite a few problems that are inherent to the game design. I can't say that I envy the people who have to try and balance this game, that have to try and do Warhammer 40,000. 26 factions, to say that there's 30 on average, because obviously the votes haven't got a lot less. That's 720 different data sheets to balance.
Sounds like a fair bit. I mean, ideally, what I think Games Workshop may particularly want to do is just get dedicated teams that handle X codexes. Like, obviously, you don't just assign 1 or 2 people to do one codex because half the time they're going to be sitting there doing fuck all.
Yeah.
But so you divide codexes up into groups, and then you have a dedicated team that handles that particular group of codexes. You guys
That's
do
the way I
this,
saw they did it with the indexes, and it didn't work very well.
Yeah.
Whoever designed the Eldar Index did not speak to whoever designed the AdMech Index in the slightest. Forget about getting models on the board and play testing against each other. Obviously, it already been done during COVID anyway. So, and I don't think they're using Tabletop Simulator somehow. I don't think they even fucking spoke to each other.
Perhaps not, but then they could also rotate people out of teams into other ones and be like,
Yeah,
please, you have
I
some
mean,
insight.
I think you get it all balanced as a first point. That's your release. That's your release for your game. Is you balance the game on release. It may well get unbalanced later, but you can fix that. On release, it is balanced, and GW could not even manage that. It was a day one FAQ, day one nerf for the Eldar, because they were getting banned at tournaments because they were broken beyond belief, and there was a 20-page rules commentary.
Indeed.
That is not the way to launch your game.
Flagship
Especially when
products,
it's
no.
your flagship product, the 10th anniversary of your flagship product, and you're the world's premier wargame company.
That's the more infuriating thing. It's the 10th edition. Why is it so poor?
Obviously, we had games like where Dave's Great Unclean One rolled up an entire flank, but
That's an amazing game.
It didn't seem quite so bad.
No, I mean, my Striking Scorpions there, it was chasing, didn't think it was an amazing game, but for us, there's so much madness happened during that game. It was fantastic.
Run away! And I do feel that crazy, zany moments don't necessarily happen so much now.
Well, no, because they're generally not very conductive to a competitive game where you're relying on like hard facts and you can predict what's going to happen and winning is important rather than just having a decent, in-depth, amusing game and just seeing like what the fuck happens. Oh, whoops on table. What's that?
You could very much math hammer, and obviously you did a table recently for the Legion's Imperialis weapons, but you could very much a spreadsheet.
Thank you.
You could very much math hammer 40k at the moment, I think. And although there's obviously you've got that rogue element, as it were, of the dice and the cards and things like that, so there always will be a certain amount of chance. You could certainly optimize and math hammer 40k at the moment in a way that
there's a decent amount of predictability in it.
Back in the day, you could not predict what way a vortex grenade template was going to go.
A what?
Vortex grenade template. You did not play second.
Yes, I'm familiar with vortex grenades.
There was one Inquisitor power that was vortex, and I think there was also a vortex grenade. And you threw it
Grey
down.
Knights had a very similar psychic power right up until like what 7th.
Yeah, it did. Yeah, and you just put it down, and you didn't know what way it was going to move.
No,
it wasn't your way.
You really did, and it was like half a tennis ball of unpredictable death.
Exactly that. It was just like, yeah, okay, fair enough.
That's fantastic.
And then Liam made a good point actually about templates as well earlier, because we were talking about a while ago about bemoaning a lot of templates, and we were like, oh, everybody should bunch up their models anyway. And it was like, yeah, but the thing about spread out the models anyway. It's like, yeah, but the thing about spreading out the models is actually more likely to hit them if you scatter.
Yeah, exactly. It was 6 of one, half a dozen of another.
It balanced itself.
People have got too many arguments trying to work out what's under it, and it's like it's not. It's not. You use your eyes. Like you use the two things that are stuck in your head, and you see what's under it, and then you're grown-ups about it, and you get on with it.
It was like if it's fully under, it's hit, and if it's partly under, it's a 4+.
Yeah,
and it wasn't even like
it wasn't
even like, oh, if it's half under or 3/4. If it's touched, it's a 4+. That's pretty simple.
Yeah,
and they even made the templates. They even made the template see-through.
Yeah, I remember the old paper ones.
Yeah, I remember
from like the battle manual, and there was like the heavy flamer one was like, oh shit.
Still got a load of them. Again, I suppose because Games Workshop wants it to be. I mean, we've got to remember this is back in the day before competitive events and tournaments, and I think that they've tried to cater to everybody. Even though we don't like the way 40k is at the moment, we've got the Heresy.
Yes, thankfully.
So we've got our grown-up game. We don't have to go to another company to get a grown-up game.
Nope. I mean, to be fair, 7 of my armies are shelved, but that's through personal choice. Like, I can't entirely blame GW for that because it's my taste which disagrees with how they've done their game, but it's my choice that says I'd rather do better things with my time than play that and not enjoy it.
Yes, I think so. I mean, and you could argue that it's a certain amount of the whole Spock thing. You know, the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few, and
True.
you know they're trying to make it more accessible to everybody because obviously that's the majority and that's what they want. But I just wish we had the option.
Yeah, of a better rule set.
Of a better rule set, a more narrative system, a more narrative rule set, games, objectives, whatever you want to call it. And maybe you even build your army in that way, because as you say, the whole idea of building an army is it's to do that job.
Yep.
And I would just rather have that than this horrible points and cards, random objectives thing, which is just very, very competitive.
Not a fan. The heresy missions, very good.
Very good, yeah.
Very good. I mean, like the initial bunch kind of got a bit old quick. I mean, they did the job, which is fine, but then
that's what supplements are for.
Yeah, exactly. I was about to say. Then they did not the Fulgrim one, not Exemplary Battles, although that's got more stuff in it. It was the Chthonier, yeah, and there was much better missions in that. Like Gribbly Dave and Farmer Neil played a mission from that, and I kind of rocked up late to the game because I had parenting to do, and it looked like great fun. Yeah. Like it was a completely fresh mission.
As I said, really that winter thing, it was night and day. I was watching Battle Report, and I was just like, this is actually good. I watch his 40k ones as well because I like the way Winters plays.
I know.
Just night and day.
I mean, I like him. I don't watch his 40k one.
It's night and day. Well, I do because I like to
punish yourself.
Not punish myself, but I like to just keep because I don't play it. I've got nobody to play. Well, so that's like, you know, like Kirsty's not really interested in anything. I've not really made a gaming group up here or anything because I don't play it. I tend to experience 40k vicariously for other people and Winters and play on tabletop are the two ways that I choose to do that. Yeah, the Horus Heresy, just the whole game was just more narrative. It was like Porax tried to charge a Praetor, he failed. There was no reroll. There was no command points or reroll or anything like that.
No.
He failed, and the Praetor shut him in the face anyway with Overwatch.
Yep.
You know, and yeah, it was just better. The dice told a story better, rather than the dice just dictating a game. And
Dice God said no.
It was better, and that's what I would do 40k. It's what I would do 40k. I would change the objective structure. I would change the turn structure. In fact, I'd probably change 60 to 70% of the actual whole game. I would release all the armies, and I know there's a bit of repeating going on, so I will obviously do some hefty editing to this tomorrow. I would release all the armies within the first 2-3 months of the life of the game, and then my additions throughout the life of the edition would be like expansions, like Heresy. Thank you very much for listening, guys, and putting up with our drivel. Assuming you have made it this far, mine and Matt's thanks, and we will see you next time round. Feed the algorithm, do the YouTube things, like, share, subscribe, blah 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 blah, and we'll see you soon.